Show, Monday edition, a hot one out there. Yes, I see the Pacific Northwest sweltering in the heat. Kind of crazy to see record temperatures being set up there. Be well, my friends. Stay cool. Hopefully the AC units aren't draining that power grid up there. Hello, Les, Sue. We've got Tom, we've got Pepe, Walter, Rick, Vernon, and good to have you guys all with us today. If you just saw the news, it just came out. This is kind of a timely topic, and also a question was just sent in about half hour before I started the show, and I thought, you know what, that's an appropriate topic. Let's talk about today. The settlement, actually, sorry, not settlement, absolutely not a settlement, a dismissal by a judge in the Facebook versus FTC case. Now, obviously, given what happened with Online Trading Academy, my opinions about the FTC are about as low as they can get. I generally have a low opinion of politicians and things like that, but when I look at the FTC overstepping their boundaries with what I thought they did, and also kind of the courts agreed with them with regards to OTA, they don't have much respect in my book. However, we do know that there was an effort to, let's just say, rein in big tech, especially social media companies. So there was talk about antitrust cases against several of them. Really, they went after Facebook. Now, the FTC, as they did with OTA as well, made up all kinds of crazy statements that really, in some senses, couldn't be substantiated or validated. And one of those claims that the FTC said about Facebook is that they have over 60% of the social networking market. Okay. I would probably agree with that. I probably think that, they probably do about 60%. But then you had all these other companies. Who knows? There wasn't enough evidence there. So they got dismissed today in court. Now, I forgot the exact terminology that we use. Someone was asking, let me see if I get a gentleman's name. It was this one from Rich, said, how do you think the Facebook news impacts the NASDAQ? Well, first off, we got to look at how it's going to impact Facebook to begin with. They're not out of the woods yet, so anybody who's thinking that this is the end-all, be-all for antitrust against Facebook, I think you're probably mistaken. This just got dismissed because of lack of evidence supporting the FTC's claim. Now, the FTC, the door was wide open for them to come back if they can get more substantiating information, the main one being that Facebook has more than 60% of the social media market, which, who knows? I mean, how exactly do you measure all that? Now, of course, when you're like somebody like Facebook and you've got $1 trillion market cap and probably several billion dollars you can throw at lawyers, most likely I'd put my money on Facebook to win this one as well. So let's take a look at some price charts here as Rich is asking, how do I think it's going to impact the NASDAQ? Well, clearly it's going to be a positive factor. I mean, Facebook is one of the bigger weightings in it. It actually, I thought Google might actually take a hit because there was talk about potentially the FTC going after Google. I don't think that this is a done battle, which is why if you look at the title for today, I called it Round 1, right? It's going to be Round 1. I have a feeling we'll see multiple rounds of this. That said, what does our price chart look like for Facebook? It looks pretty damn good. I mean, this price breakout today, you're at all-time highs, and it just ripped up. I will show you this on a 5-minute time frame so you can see exactly how it transpired. There's your 5-minute of it, and this includes the after hours. I'll get rid of after hours so you can see the fun part, but here's your regular session. Notice the volume was just off the charts for Facebook right as that news came out. So I'm pretty sure that you and I were the last to know. I'm pretty sure that as this court case was being talked about, you had representatives from some of the major financial firms sitting outside the courtroom or in the courtroom on their cell phone saying yay or nay, dismissed or not dismissed, or whatever the case may be, to the powers that be at specific trading desks. Because you can see the volume came pouring in. That's a 5-minute time frame you see there. Here's a 1 minute. You can see there was really a calm before the storm. The poor guy that shorted right as this thing came out. You can see there was really almost no volume. It picked up a little bit. So I'm reading the combined. I'll try to read the combined volume. Unfortunately, the way that TradeStation reports volume is kind of wonky. But in the 60 seconds before the big spike of volume, you had roughly 7,000 shares traded. In the next 60 seconds, you had roughly 319,000 shares traded. So it just started to spike from there and kept on running. Pretty awesome move to the upside here. Obviously, this is going to be great for the NASDAQ. So let me bring up the triple Qs so you can see the impact it had there. Notice that even though it wasn't as steep, there still was a big spike at the exact same time, and that was really what pushed NASDAQ up, closing the best index of the day. from our perspective. Now, you go back to that daily chart. We'll go to Facebook, and I guess there's two questions here, Rich. First one is, what does it mean to Facebook? This obviously is good news for Facebook short term. My guess is the FTC is going to regroup and come back at them with more information. Like I said, when you got a $1 trillion market cap, which Facebook joined that club today, you got a lot of money for legal fees. And if in fact you do have a monopoly, which some would argue that I don't know. You guys tell me. And make it so we can make it interactive today. How many of you think that Facebook have a monopoly? That they have a monopoly and should potentially be broken up? Well, I guess Jerry just gave his vote. He says, I secretly root for the demise of Facebook, such an evil social experiment. Yeah, I think it's interesting because I enjoyed it when it first came out because I was actually keeping up with friends from around the world. You guys know I lived in Northern California, I lived in Europe, so I have friends all over. A great way to stay in touch. But now it just becomes this polarizing, creating hostile viewpoints and almost radicalizing people. The movie, The Social Dilemma, I thought did a great job of conveying that. So I'm kind of with you, Jerry. I wish it would kind of just go away, but it won't. It's too entrenched. Now all of a sudden everyone's on Instagram and other social media platforms. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Tom. Tom says no monopoly. You know, monopoly to me means that you're the one stop to go to. What about Twitter? What about Instagram? I mean, these are other platforms out there that I think the FTC doesn't have a solid case if you're claiming that they're a monopoly, and even 60%. Now, the interesting thing is Monopoly does own Instagram, so you know you got that part there, and they're going to continue to buy up all these companies, and that's just what good businesses do, right? If you're a business in a space and you see competition coming into place, you start to buy at that competition. And Facebook has been doing that, but I don't know. I don't think the FTC's got a leg to stand on. I don't think they'll end up winning that one. So, Rich, for me, what that means is good news for Facebook. It means good news for the NASDAQ, which will probably continue to get its nice uptrend going, or keep it going. Here is the NASDAQ 100, and you can see it is the strongest of them all when we look at the different indexes. Here is the NASDAQ, which, as you can see, ripped through all-time highs a couple weeks ago and still trucking. We'll look at IWM. Right, IWM, which I had one short trade on today. Actually, had a really nice short trade on IWM this morning, as it had that little spinning top right into a supply level, but it's still stuck within this range. Right, we're really not seeing anything great from the Russell 2000, so NASDAQ clearly the best. You can look at DIA, look at old Dow Jones Industrial Average. It was looking great, and then just started to show some weakness. Here we are with the Dow, kind of looks like just traversing sideways, and the last one here out of the big four is S&P, which is at all-time highs again today. Glad I got out of my puts on that one. But NASDAQ clearly the winner here, and I think big tech, this is a victory for big tech, but again, not out of the woods yet. Les says it's a monopoly, but don't break up. Well, here's the thing. When you break up monopolies, from what I've seen in the past, when you break up a monopoly, it actually seems like the company does better when they get split up. Who knows? Who knows how that all will transpire? Billions and yeah, Jerry, it's not just billions of customers, it's billions of customers all around the world, right? And shutting it down, and I could see one country maybe shutting it down, but to get them shut down in every country, I think you have to do something pretty bad to get shut down everywhere. So, let's see. All right, Tom says people don't research or shop to any great degree on Facebook, therefore their ads are fairly useless. They may have some branding value. Yeah, they have branding value, but they also have... What they have is, while you may not go to Facebook to be a shopper, you may inadvertently become a shopper. Meaning, I could be scrolling through and, checking out Brandon Wendell's photos of Miami Beach, and there's an ad next to it saying, "Hey, you want to buy? I don't know. I'm making something. You want to buy some whiskey glasses, right? Oh, yeah, you know what? I do." So it's that target marketing. So while I'm not going there to shop, I might become a shopper based off those ads, etc. All right. Hello, Thomasine. I hope that ankle is doing good today. All right. So, Rich, that's the first one. To me, that is pretty big news. Obviously, I think that is good for big tech. So you can look at most of the major names out there in the tech space looking fairly decent today, and that might continue. So, next one, and I'm going to go through a whole bunch of things here. If you guys have questions, topics you want me to go over, let me know. Send them on in at TraderMerlin@gmail.com, or just type them in the chat if you're watching this one live. All right, we've talked about this quite a bit in previous shows. I think last year I did a great one called, it was all about the electric vehicles, that I think was really cool. Tom says, I spent millions on my last job on Google ads and tested Facebook ads. Facebook were useless. Good to know, because I spent some money on Facebook ads for this show. Damn it, it didn't work. We did a show last year, I think, talking about electric vehicles. And, we've been looking at things like Nikola. And while some of these companies did have struggles, some of them obviously are going to probably end up being great companies. Now, this goes to a question from Lee. Lee says, is it worth buying CCIV? Okay, so right away, I know nothing about the fundamentals of CCIV. I just know it's Lucid Motors, which makes them actually very good-looking cars. Are they built well? Are they reliable? I mean, what are their specs? Don't really know. What I can tell you is the competition for that space is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I know we've got some auto people in this room as well, and it's definitely heating up across the board. I am actually in the market for a new truck. I have a 2016 Tacoma, which is it's the vehicle that I want, and I love it, but it gets horrible gas mileage. And I actually wanted to go back to the Toyota Tundra, which is much bigger, but it gets 13 miles a gallon. Now, next year, they're actually coming out with a V6 twin turbo for the Tundra, which is great, which is exactly what Ford Raptor did. But also, I'm hearing that they're coming out with a hybrid version, which I may actually jump into. So I was kind of mocking Toyota for not really getting full bore into the total EV space. I think they're pushing it. I think that you'll see Honda, Toyota, and these other companies step up. Obviously, Nissan with Leaf. You had Chevy with the Volt. CCIV, which is Lucid, I think, is definitely a contender. Technically, you look at the price chart, well, here's what I think of it. Is it worth buying? Well, the good news is, if you are a trend trader as I am, it looks good. It's starting to show that it's base. It's not making new lows. It's actually making new highs for the past month and a half. It's making higher lows. So this looks pretty good. Your next kind of stopping points can be right around 27.75. After that, you've got maybe some smooth sailing. And I don't know if this is going to come and fill this gap. I mean, this is a different breed of animal. This is a SPAC, right? Right now it's Churchill Capital Corp number 4. This is a SPAC, a specialty purpose acquisition company. So it's not a stock yet. I believe the date is July 23rd. Is when July 22nd they have the vote on the merger, and then if it all goes well, July 23rd will be trading under the new ticker symbol and officially be Lucid Motors on the exchange. So it's looking better to me now. I've got kind of a sore spot with me with regards to SPACs because of what happened with VIH. Yeah, that one, I'm really kind of still pissed off about that one, but it is what it is. If you're looking at Churchill, which is going to be Lucid Motors, this is still a SPAC that's going through a merger. I would potentially look at something else. I know NIO has been on fire lately. They had some announcements with regards to batteries and technology and just soared today. Great move up for NIO. I would certainly shop around, and I think that, Lee, if you're looking for a specific company, it's not like Russian roulette. It's not that dangerous, but it's still very risky in saying which one of these is going to be the victor in that sector. There are some ETFs out there. We talked about this on the program in the past. You can go out and find a lot of different ETFs that are in the EV space, but make sure that you go and look at the components of every one of those ETFs because they are vastly different with regards to technology and straight up car companies that are in there. I forgot which one it was, but there was one EV fund that we looked at here on this show that there was almost no car companies in there. It was all the accessories of car companies. And then, things like it would have Tesla, okay, great, but have Google and Apple in there. You're like, wait a minute, how's that EV? Well, they're anticipating the technology, AI technology from Google and maybe Apple to be involved in those cars. So make sure you check the components of it. Stock, which one is it? There's so many different websites for it. I think I use Barchart. Barchart has a really good way to break them all down. Oh, yeah, it's the Reddit. Sure, get to it. She says, can we look at space? It's Reddit meme stock. Now, okay, I'll deviate from the show and go down that path. Let me real quickly, as I wrap up here for Lee, is CCIV worth buying? Monetarily, fundamentally, I do not know if CCIV is worth buying. I can't make that statement. As a technical trader, it's looking much better now. Right, you're seeing this thing start to get an uptrend going, and who knows, maybe it does transpire into a much bigger move up. At this point, if I had a gun to my head, I would say yes, I would be interested in going long. The only challenge on going long immediately is you are right at this short-term supply level, which is the kind of the highest level that you've seen since April. So if you break that, that would be a nice buy-in point. Now, there's other companies out there. We looked at Nikola. We've heckled them enough. They also are showing a lot of strength here recently and getting better. Maybe they cleared out some of the trash from their executive and management teams. Maybe they're getting some partnerships, but the trend is no longer aggressively down like it was for most of 2021. It seems like for the past 2-3 months that Nikola doing well. NEO is also one that's been really talked about on Reddit. So you got to be really careful with these Reddit stocks, these pump and dump ones, right? When I made the show about the GameStop, GME, and AMC, you guys might remember the talk track was these Reddit traders and Wall Street traders were doing short squeezes on trash companies. When you take trash and you short squeeze it into a astronomically high price, it's still trash. It's going to come back down and be trash. If you look at something like NEO, which now they're saying that this is the short squeeze, darling for the Reddit traders again, one of the new ones. This one's not trash, right? This is a legit company that's entering into a new space that's extremely hot. So when I line up something like NEO or something like GameStop to me is a blockbuster. We all know that. It'll go the way of the dodo. But NEO has sky's the limit upside, right? We don't know. We're pretty sure, I think we could all agree that electric vehicles aren't going to disappear in 5 years. And if anything, fossil fuel vehicles might disappear in 5 years. So to me, this is a much better candidate. If you're falling for the short squeeze stuff that you hear on social media, I'm okay participating in short squeezes, absolutely. But you want to make sure it's a company that is warranted a valuation that's much higher than what it was. Meaning something like a NEO. Could NEO get to $100 a share? Sure. Could GameStop get to 1,000? Yeah. But that would be because of pure manipulation, not due to success of the company or some amazing new product that GameStop comes out with. Now, one of the other ones that Katut was talking about is Space, SPCE. This one's gone nuts over the last couple days. Again, this is a Wall Street bets kind of pump. The challenge for me, I wouldn't buy it right now, even though I think Virgin Galactic is riding on the coattails of what SpaceX and what Blue Origin are doing, which is going to hopefully be a successful mission here for Bezos in July. But they're right into an area of supply. You can see that thing, it spiked up pretty high, right around that $60 mark. So if you're thinking about getting into space, I wouldn't touch it. Personally, if the premium on these puts was high enough, I might actually sell some puts at like 35. I don't even know what it's at. Let's see what we're talking about here. Let's see if we market's closed, so I can't make this trade anyway. But we'll see what the SPCE options chain looks like here. Takes a second. My platform is just so clunky sometimes. SPCE. All right, give me a sec as I bring up that option chain. Oh, I don't know why it's doing this. Generated a handling exception. So basically my platform just crashed. All right, well, let me see if I can get to that one a little bit later on. But technically, Katut, I wouldn't touch it. Right? It's gone parabolic. And, when I see something go that far, that fast, I'll just stay away. You've already missed the big move. You're basically, if you do catch something, you're going to catch the crumbs. I don't want the crumbs to that one. All right, what else? I'm missing all kinds of stuff. Let's see. The Tesla's going to balance out in price with its competition. Yep. Yeah, and I think that's understandable, right? If you're the lead dog, you do everything you can to maintain that lead for as long as possible. And I think what Tesla's done is they've leveraged themselves heavily to maintain that lead and be the lead dog in that space. But you're getting competition, and it's not saying that Tesla's going to come crashing down, but some of these other stocks might get up to some very lofty valuations based off the anticipation that they may be the new Tesla. Let me see. Michael Burry is going to kill his short on Tesla. Well, yeah, didn't he blow up? I think he shut off his Twitter feed too. Someone was commenting that he shut down his Twitter feed. Like, the guy seems to be very unstable. All right, Tesla's PE ratio will eventually fall in line with GM. Correct. But, the question, Tom, is legitimately when, right? It will most likely have it a much higher PE ratio for, I would say, probably a couple of years because it's still at the forefront of that competition. But, you're hearing Ford and General Motors, they're going after it. They're going after that market share. And, yeah, you'll start to see the equilibrium start to come into place. Oh, Sure, yeah, I'm going to see if I can bring up option chain one more time. For some reason, it crashed me the first time, and hopefully we'll make it the second time. Cool. Let's see here. SPC out. It's still crashing. I'm not sure what's going on with this, with my option chain, unfortunately. So I won't be able to pull that one up for you guys. Sorry, no option chain today. All right. If you have questions, again, keep those coming in. You can email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com if you have some questions as well. I had one more question that came in over the weekend, so I'm going to get to that one. If you have stuff you want me to dive into, I'm happy to do so. Jerry says 75 to 1 odds that Jeff Bezos does not come back from space. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to make it back. I hope he does, but I've got a short position just in case. Like I said, I don't think that Amazon's going to skyrocket on the news that it was a successful trip. I think that's already priced in. But if it doesn't come back successful in any way, shape, or form, oh man, that thing could come crashing down. All right, here's the last one I got, and then you guys can steer the show whichever way you'd like it to go. Kevin, this is a great question, actually. I hope you're watching today, Kevin. He says, could a ledger or a system be corrupted to the point where your crypto in storage becomes inaccessible? Great question. Now, I have one right here, and I will tell you that one of the biggest fears I had was exactly that, Kevin. This is a nano ledger. This one here is my Ethereum and Ripple, so there's not as much on this one. My Bitcoin one has quite a bit on it. And on the Bitcoin one, I was plugging it in, and it said I needed to do an update. So I go to the update, and it freezes. I'm like, okay, no problem. Just clicking all the buttons. You're unresponsive. I'm trying to plug it back in. Nothing works. At this point, I'm freaking out because there's tens of thousands of dollars on this thing, and just to lose it would drive me nuts. I'm like, well, I have my seed key, right? When you buy one of these devices, they give you a seed phrase, and it's usually like 24 words. And the way that these seed phrases work, it's not like it's stored on that device. They create a seed phrase that points you at a specific address. It's essentially a private key. So it's not like my crypto is literally sitting on this device. This is just computational and a nice electronic interface to keep track of everything, but it has a specific address for my cryptocurrency accounts. For each one has their own specific address. With my Bitcoin one, when I lost it, I was like, I'm freaking out here because, oh no, this is clearly not good. I reformatted the whole thing and thinking that I've lost it. Here's the way it works. There's 2,042 names or words that are in what's called the BIP39. I believe it's Bitcoin Improvement Protocol, BIP39. If you have a BIP39 enabled device, like a Trezor, like a NanoLedger S, like a Gate they are BIP39 enabled. So if I went and I bought, and I have a ledger, if I bought a Trezor and I put in my seed phrase, it would access my accounts on that device. So to answer your question here, could they be corrupted to the point that your crypto becomes inaccessible? No. Your seed phrase basically points it to a blockchain location. That's all a seed phrase is designed to do. So it's not about the device itself. So great question, and I know firsthand because I had to reformat it, and I was shaking as I had to hit reformat because I'm thinking, it's gone. Everything that's on here has disappeared. It didn't disappear. Basically, I reformatted this thing like it was brand new. I installed the wallet for Bitcoin, put in my seed phrase, everything was back. So there you go. Cool. Let's see. That's Kevin's question. What else do you guys have for me today? Anybody got any questions out there? Anything exciting that you saw? There was some, only thing I saw to me, I was just watching the Russell this morning, and as it broke the Globex lows, I decided to short it through some trailing stops on it. So, Walter, I didn't bail on VIH. He says, when did you decide to bail on it? I'm still in it. Still in it from 15.5 is my average price. So that one's, luckily I'm only 1,000 shares. Thank goodness. But yeah, it's... what bugged me about that one was that they changed their talk track, right? The talk track was, we're going to be the institutional exchange. We're going to be the ones that institutions are using to clear big volume. I'm like, that's what we need. For the crypto world to really accelerate, you need an exchange where the big fish can play, right? The big fish, the Goldman Sachs, JP Morgans, they're not buying or selling 1,000 shares on E-Trade. That's retail stuff. That to me is what Coinbase was. I was looking for who's institutional. Where can Goldman find their dark pool of Bitcoin and be like, hey, I need to buy 50,000 Bitcoin right now? To me, that's what I felt was missing, and then that's what they said they were going to go after. Back, BAKKT. And then all of a sudden, all it was a little wallet. Total bait and switch, and I got caught. Damn SPACs. My plan is I'm just going to hold it. I'll see what pans out. It's not like it's the biggest money position. It's at this point, it's down significantly. I'll wait, and maybe they do switch back and do that. Some of the people they had on their team at VIH were pretty big, influential people on the ICE and other big NYSE exchanges. So they have connections there, which could certainly get them to be the institutional clearing firms, but right now it didn't seem to be their talk track. All right, I tried it one last time, and unfortunately this thing is not working. Unable to sort because I compare method return inconsistent results. All right. Well, no option chain today. Prospects for Bitcoin ETFs. I think you're going to see it soon. I think at some point you're going to see it become legitimate. Right now you have everybody's petitioning and filling out applications with the SEC trying to become the first Bitcoin ETF in the US. What's interesting is you already have them in Canada and other countries. So let's maybe see how they perform first. So far, you're getting, seems to be fairly decent results from Canada. So why not have it here in the States? My guess is you'll probably see them come soon. And it'll probably be like Grayscale with a whole series of them. So you have a Bitcoin, an Ethereum, a Ripple, whatever the different ones are. And then what I'd really like to see would be a diversified all-in-one portfolio of cryptocurrencies, right? You guys know I keep building mine. I think I'm at 26 different positions now for cryptos. It would be nice to know I have a one-stop ETF that physically holds those cryptocurrencies and kind of manages that portfolio for me. I think that would be great for people who are a little bit skeptical about owning one specific cryptocurrency. Let me buy a portfolio. I'll probably allocate some of my retirement money into that as well. So that's what I think, Tom. I think my guess is you'll probably see it by the end of the year. I think there's too much pressure on it. And I think that the SEC, it's in their best interest to do so and have a regulated product versus some of these other ones that are operating a little bit shadily, we might say. Where's Bitcoin going in the next few weeks? Some are saying 20K, asking for a friend. Well, look, we would be biased if I said it's got to go up. It's got to go up. Technically, this doesn't look good. This 30,000 level for me is very important. It's just bouncing along that 30,000 level. It seems like every time we get a nice strong move up, it just gets pushed right back down. So that's kind of the line in the sand. You do see that there's multiple unfilled gaps on this, right? And it's not like we're going back to lows that we saw, 15 years ago. It's lows from like 9 months ago. So, we're kind of back down towards getting closer to a normal uptrend line that you see here on Bitcoin. So, could it go down to the 20,000? Sure, 25 seems like a very tasty target. 20,000? That's right here. That to me is that last stop. That's the last big gap you saw. And on this chart here, you've got two unfilled gaps, and that's the lowest one. Could it get down to 20? Yes, it absolutely could get down to 20. Keep in mind, it was at 20 in December. That's less than a year ago. So again, it's not like we're erasing decades of price action. This thing went way too far, too fast, straight up, and now it's just selling off a little bit. And I think that you're going to see probably hover here for a little bit. I think you're just going to see it kind of chop sideways, bounce between 30 and 40,000 would be my guess, is it's going to establish a new range for a little while before it starts to take off again. And I think that the catalyst for that next move to the upside is going to be two things. Number one, governments. As you saw what's happening with China, from my perspective, this is a good thing. I know it sounds weird, but I believe what's going to happen is those companies are already moving offshore. You're hearing them going to Austin, Texas, Kazakhstan, and other countries with this mining equipment because they want to be mining cryptocurrency. As soon as those get plugged back in and go back online in different countries, price of Bitcoin will start to rally back up. At that point, I think China is going to go, we're losing a lot of businesses here. And that was kind of key for us. Maybe we can work some agreement out with miners in China where we get a specific amount of capital from it or what have you, but we want to get some skin in that game. Once that agreement is worked out, I think China will welcome back miners down the road. Obviously, it's a communist country, so it's a little bit different than what we face here. But Bitcoin still thrives regardless of a minor shutdown. And I say minor as in M-I-N-E-R, not M-I-N-O-R. So I do see it traversing sideways. Obviously, I'd like to see it back up at 65. I'd love to see it back up at 100,000. I still stand by my... it was funny, I was in one of Sam Evans' Thursday workshops, and this one guy, I think I told you, he said, I'm glad I didn't listen to Merlin. I'm like, and I was just sitting there like, really? Why? And he's like, I can tell. He's like, oh, shoot, he's here? He's like, well, you said Bitcoin's going to 1,000. I said, or 100,000. I said, yes, I firmly believe that. And I said by the end of 2022, meaning the beginning of 2023. So December 31st, 2022, I think by that point, Bitcoin will be 100,000. Between now and then, who knows what could happen. Now, we talked about the government side of it. That obviously is a big issue. China's crackdown. You got Japan and the UK today going after Binance. Binance, I can have some issues here. It's the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world. This does well for U.S. exchanges now because now you have more people potentially using the U.S. exchanges. But Binance will come to agreement with Japan. They'll come to agreement with the UK. It's all that they just don't have permission to execute there. They'll get that stuff and everything will be fine. Yeah, Binance just cracked down on, or UK cracked down on Binance. They'll work it out. It's all about money. It's all about money, and Binance will work something out with those different government entities. When that does, that again helps out the crypto space. So you've got shutdowns with regards to mining, which actually long-term I think is a good thing for crypto. You've got governments like Japan and the UK cracking down on unregulated exchanges. Notice not them going after cryptocurrency. It's just Binance didn't have permission to do what they were doing in the UK or Japan. Once they get that, things are back to normal. So the other part of it would be regulations making it illegal to do Bitcoin. And would that happen here in the U.S.? I don't think that would happen in the U.S. Anything is possible, but I think it would be more of let's just tax the hell out of it and we'll just make sure we get some money from these different cryptocurrencies. The other side of government, those three things were almost negative, right? The mining shutdown and the regulations. As more regulation gets put on cryptos, I believe this is a good thing. More regulation means more legitimization for all the naysayers. So when somebody's out there, and I've got quite a few, probably somebody watched the show, that's fine, think that crypto is a total scam, a fraud. I did an event for Irvine on Saturday afternoon, went in there and talked about cryptos, and a good amount of hands were raised up when I said, hey, how many think this is an absolute fraud, scam, Ponzi scheme? And their hands went up. I said, cool, totally fine. If you had more regulation and the FTC was behind it, the SEC was behind it, the regulators were behind it, and said, yes, this is okay, would your confidence change? It's like, yes. I'd feel much better about it because I know that somebody who's got more resources and analytics has analyzed it and said, it's okay, therefore I'm going to be okay with crypto. So the more regulations, I think it helps adoption and acceptance of it. The other positive government side is what happened with El Salvador. Right? El Salvador, you've got Paraguay, you have Mexico is talking about making it legal tender. So all of a sudden, the doorway is starting to open in all of these countries that don't have robust banking systems for cryptocurrency and digital assets, particularly Bitcoin. If that continues down the road, I think it'll really start to be a boom for the entire industry. But it's a hodl game, right? It's just kind of sit back, hold those investments, and you're going to have to wait on them. There's going to be wild swings. I didn't see it falling this far. I kind of expected there to be a pullback, but I'm still up. I'm still up on the year on my Bitcoin. All right, what else I got? All this losing Bitcoin anxiety reminded me of my carefree GBTC holdings. How about look at GBTC? Yeah, you know what? This is a really weird one. So for those that might be new to the show, we watched this and we're looking at it from a buying at a premium or getting at a discount. And that was, where did my GBTC one go? There it is. And what we did is basically if you ran this little calculator that we put on TradingView here, it's GBTC times 1,000, and then you subtract that from Bitcoin. That tells you if you're buying this at a discount or a premium. And right now, it's a discount of $5,300 per share, or per coin. Now, I'm not sure exactly how this thing's working. Tom, you might know better than I do at this point, but I as soon as I saw this was broken, I kind of wanted to step away from it and just totally leave it alone. I mean, we were at one point where GBTC was buying essentially Bitcoin at a $14,000 per coin discount if you bought GBTC. And the thinking was that this would rally back up to an equilibrium point right around zero, which is this horizontal black line. That hasn't happened. And this has to do with it being a trust. GBTC is not an ETF. It's a trust. And there's all kinds of different rules with how they can purchase Bitcoin in that trust and holding periods for those assets. And I think that's creating this really weird, almost broken correlation, which kind of, I don't know, really throws me off. Because if I look at this, I'm thinking, if I buy GBTC, I'm buying it at a $5,000 discount. I'm buying Bitcoin at a $5,000 discount. But that's apparently not the case. So I've kind of shied away from this one. Notice we haven't really talked much about it because to me, this is broken. And I don't know exactly what's wrong with this, but it should be back around zero. But it's just stuck down here. That's really buying always at a discount. So sorry, Tom. I don't have a solution for that one. I don't have a solution. What are the top 3 or 4 cryptos that may work in conjunction with Bitcoin and Ethereum in the future? Good question. Now, it's not necessarily that they work in conjunction, right? If you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. There's no competition in that space, in my opinion. If you look at generation 2, which is Ethereum, which is a programmable blockchain, smart contracts, Ethereum is the lead dog. It's about generation 3 and maybe what I'll call generation 4. Generation 3 is where you have scalable solutions. Right now, Bitcoin or Ethereum is not scalable. So in my portfolio, the biggest positions are Ethereum and Bitcoin. But I'm also, as I mentioned, I'm building Polkadot and Cardano because both of those were started from former Ethereum employees. They basically looked at what Vitalik was doing. Vitalik said, I want this to be nonprofit. Both those guys said, we want this to be for profit. So they took the vision of what Ethereum, how it was constructed, and then built new code which accommodated for scalability. It also took things away from the proof of work network and went to proof of stake, which from an energy consumption perspective is much better. So what I'm trying to look for, Rick, is I'm looking for different projects which represent market segments that I'm personally interested in. For example, I want my Bitcoin, my store value, that's there. I'm going with Ethereum because I believe Ethereum has the money, the resources, the developers to take their existing code and scale it up. It's going to take some time, but I believe they got some of the best developers out there in Ethereum. Then you look at Polkadot, you look at Cardano, you look at EOS, you look at HBAR, Hashgraph. These are technologies which have a lot of potential because they're already solving the scalability issues up front and the environmental issues up front. So they may at some point start to take away market share from Ethereum. At this point, it's almost impossible to take it away because almost everything is using the Ethereum blockchain. But if somebody comes to market and has a blockchain that does more than 15 transactions per second, that, let's see what else is has a faster block time, right? Maybe the block time needs to be cut from 12 seconds, maybe it's down to 1 second block time. And maybe the transactions are 1 second. Now all of a sudden I've got something that can compete with Visa. That's why I have EOS, because EOS in their max is an 89 million transactions in a day. Ethereum has done like what? I think 1.9 is the most it's done in a day. Bitcoin's like 1.6. So I look for things in specific market segments, but those are kind of the 4 I would say that I like. Ethereum, Bitcoin, Polkadot, Cardano, I like EOS. There are a variety of other projects out there too, but most of them are in the token space. Yes, Tom, I think that there is I think there's actually an arbitrage opportunity where you could be going back between GBTC and Bitcoin futures. I know that it's funny because that's how a lot of people are doing arbitrage when you deposit your currency holdings in like a Celsius or a BlockFi, but they're actually using that and arbitraging on exchanges and making money that way. That's how they pay this nice reward that we get for keeping our assets there. Jerry says, Merlin, I still have not put my Bitcoin on a nano ledger. Once I do, how many zeros after the decimal can I trial test? You mean it's like a test, like to send it over there to just to see if it gets to that address? Oh, well, you could do 0.001. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. Well, Jerry, here's what I would suggest too. It's nice having it on here. This is like about as safe as you're going to get. But are you going to make anything, right? A lot of these exchanges are giving yield. Celsius right now is giving, I think it's 6% to keep your Bitcoin there. Great. So I moved a couple of Bitcoin over to Celsius and just letting those sit there. BlockFi, I think, does 0.5% for up to half a Bitcoin. So you can, keep it on an exchange and get yield. I believe you can actually do it through the Nano Ledger S if you set it up right, where you can actually get some yield. We'll have to look into that one. But just a thought for you. There's other ways that you could store that and get paid for it. Generally, when you go to a paper wallet or a cold storage, you're not getting paid anything. There's no interest coming in other than the actual fluctuations of the currency itself. So yeah, start with as small as you can. Right? Go to as small as you can. If it's 0.000001, fine, do it. It's a couple dollar transaction. And just make sure when you send it from one address to the next, just check the front couple letters, copy and paste, never try to type it in the code, etc. Okay, and I've been so dang busy trying to get everything done, I didn't even get a chance to go look at the economic calendar. One thing I put on the thing, we're going to talk about oil. So I guess I got to do a longer show. I was going to try to wrap this show up at 30 minutes. This just doesn't happen. All right, so there was some comments and questions about oil. Now, obviously, if you saw Monday Morning Must-Knows, what I do for my Trading Academy, we talked about OPEC. And I think OPEC is going to be a very interesting meeting this week. Why? Well, here's that chart pattern of crude oil. We've been talking about this one for a while. We talked about the potential breakout. Now it's been ripping to the upside. And if you haven't noticed, the prices at the pump have gotten much, much, much more expensive. Now, of course, I believe that there will be some angst and animosity, if you will, from a lot of the consumers, and that will leak back to politicians because we're the constituents, and they'll start to pound the table on expensive oil. It's summertime. Americans need to travel. We cannot have... And this may put pressure on OPEC. And I think you'll probably see, you saw it today, oil was down over 1%, is how oil prices are impacted by OPEC. Now, Thursday is an all-day meeting from OPEC. I think you can expect a lot more volatility this week with regards to crude oil. Tons of movement going to be happening in that space, so keep your eye on that one. Here is the oil chart. We really came right back down to that line that we'd drawn at about 72. It's at 72.91 right now. It wouldn't surprise me to see it retest all the way back down to right around that 66.80 mark, which was our original breakout point. But all in all, the trend is real strong. OPEC is going to have the upper hand here. If OPEC says they're going to increase production, then we'll see these prices drop, and crude oil will probably come back and test that 66.80. If not, expect that trend to continue. Minor pullback, and then I would expect it to keep on moving to the upside. All right, that does it for that piece. At least I got the oil. I told you I would do oil. With regards to tomorrow, not a lot of really important stuff for the U.S. You have some home price data. Now remember that Case-Shiller Composite 20 Home Price Index has been rising at one of its steepest paces in years. That number comes out tomorrow morning, so be careful for that one. That is going to be, I believe, half hour before the market opens. So it'll be priced in, hopefully, HPI data and the Case-Shiller S&P 20 Home Price Index. A big mouthful there. You also have consumer confidence for the U.S., and that pretty much does it for the U.S. markets. Earnings-wise, there's nothing really to speak of for tomorrow. If you're trading the pound, I'm going to see if I can bring up the pound here because that was noteworthy of late, GBPUSD. Right? You had that sell-off about a week and a half ago, a pretty sharp decline, and it looked like it was going to try to rally back up. But we've seen over the past few days, it's sliding. GDP numbers could have a big impact on the price and moves of the British pound. That's going to be happening tomorrow, and that announcement will be much later in the evening. It's actually after we do this show, so it'll be, I think, 11 o'clock at night is when the GDP numbers come out. But just wanted you to know that one in case we have some pound traders here, as I'm pretty sure we do have some pound traders. All right, what else? How much is gas in California? Right now, I think that the cheapest I saw, and trust me, I am the guy who's finding the cheapest gas. It was like $3.99 for the cheapest gas you can get, and it's probably up over $4 a day. Let's see. Under Trump, we're getting oil from Russia now. Well, we're totally sufficient with our own oil in the U.S. We can definitely do okay with our own oil, but it's just overall prices and supply. So DXY, just the last one. You keep throwing them out there. You trying to, Rick? Is this big? Is this is it big app? He's trying to lure me into a longer show. Here's your dollar index. We talked about this one last week. The thing with the dollar index right now is it going to drop back below that 91.40? Right? It broke out. It's going to retest which I think it's already done. We'll see how it holds, but we're really just traversed sideways since the year. We have one little pop to the upside, which got me all excited. You can see this peak right here back in March. I was like, oh, here we go. We broke out, starting to make some higher highs. I was all bullish on it, and all of a sudden came right back down to those lows at 90. So, until we can start making higher highs, to me, it's just lots of chop, lots of sideways stuff. All right, that's going to do it for me, guys. I'm going to wrap this one up. I don't have a guest for mañana. I do have a guest for Wednesday. We're going to have Brandon Wendell in the program. I'm trying to get an options guy on for less, so I can get his options question answered. He had some complicated spread stuff, which is outside of my purvey. And if I'm not an expert at it, I'm not going to try to get you the answer there. So hopefully we'll get an options guy on the program here in the next week or so for you to get those questions answered. What else did I see here? $4, yeah. Yep. Gas about $3 a gallon. Oh yeah. I was gonna say, Tom, I don't know. I thought you were in California. Gas ain't $3. Yeah, but the tax is. I think it's actually more than $1. I think it's more than $1 now. Oh man, $4.35 in NorCal, crazy. Yeah, hey, it's not like we haven't been here before. We've seen this high oil prices and high gas prices in the past, but if we get some legs underneath oil, I mean, this is where it starts to get scary. If you look at the crude oil price chart and you look at, let's go to a weekly. You can see here that it's been doing great, but the trend is so strong, it looks to me like there's a lot more upside here. I have friends who are calling for $100 oil, and I got to look at them and go, yeah, it's not out of the ordinary. I'm looking at this thinking, I think 85 is your next solid target, but that's $13 higher than this. If we get to $13 higher, you're dealing with significantly higher prices at the pump. Yes, Les, I will. It's actually written down on my list today to do that, but let me do that on tomorrow's show since I'm kind of running out of time here, and that gives me a topic for tomorrow. But I'll talk about my cash secured puts. Hopefully I'll get my options platform fixed here so I can get some better quotes for you. But yeah, I'll talk to you about how I do my cash secured puts. $7.50 in the UK? Damn, Rob. Time to get an electric bike, buddy. Holy cow. It's so funny how you travel around the world and you realize, like, and I apologize if I sound rude, but like as an American, you're like, our gas is too expensive. It's $4 a gallon. I remember I moved to Italy and I saw the price at the pump and it was like $1.80. I'm like, man, this is cheap. Yeah, it's $1.80 a liter. Next thing you know, you're looking at $7-8 a gallon. And I guess that's what you got over there in London, man. So I'm not complaining. Even though my truck gets horrible gas mileage, I'm going to keep driving gas vehicles until my electric bikes get here, and then we'll change. I'm going to make TraderMerlin bikes just for fun. Why not? All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Again, if you enjoyed today's show, give me a thumbs up. You can also leave comments, feedback down below. If you have a question or a topic that you'd like me to do a show on, let me know. Just email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com so I can get show materials and everything ready, or specific guests for Brendan. I need to get Greg Manorino on the program. And others that you guys have suggested. I just have been too busy to go and do it and get them on the program. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed it. Be careful out there with Facebook tomorrow. That thing is probably going to be very volatile. Even though it's spiked up there at the end of the session, some people might be taking profit. Some people might be pouring in. A lot of increased volatility. Might actually make great for an options trade if you're a seller of premium for tomorrow. Take care, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.